All right, big news over on the Unity front. Of course, we all know that Unity is going to be used in FM25. We know that's the engine that they're putting in to build their new game engine around the UI and everything around Unity, which is the engine they decided to go with instead of alternatives. They could have gone with Unreal Engine, they could have gone with others. Unity dropped some big news today, and it could have an impact on Football Manager and, well, a lot of games. But yeah, let's talk about it. Let's first have a look at what the news was, and then we'll chat a little bit about what other developers are saying about it. And then we can only speculate. Sports Interactive, of course, have not made a response on this. A much bigger company, part of Sega, published by Sega. A lot of the other devs who've spoken out are smaller or independently published, often even single-man teams. But we can discuss a little bit about what it might mean for Sports Interactive and maybe the future with FM25 and Unity. Could be a little bit dicey there, so we can speculate on that. So let's go have a look and see what that news was. So I've got open here the Unity blog. Now it has been updated. This has been developing throughout the day since yesterday. Well, you can see they've added a couple of editors notes. There's actually an editor's note from the day before as well. But the big thing is that Unity are changing the way that they charge devs. Now this is important for Sports Interactive more than us as customers, but you think this is a new engine they're about to adopt. Lots of other devs are doing it. So basically, Unity engine is comprised of two pieces of software. One is the editor and one is the runtime. So every time you run a game, so when you run Football Manager in the future, what will happen is Unity runtime will have to run in the background that executes whatever's happening, whether that's on your mobile phone, you're playing on mobile, whether it's playing your PC or on the consoles or whatever. And it makes, all those Unity games work. So they've decided they're going to introduce what's called a Unity Runtime Fee each time a qualifying game is downloaded by an end user. So every time you download, well, nearly every time, we'll come back to it in a second, every time you download Football Manager and you download Unity Runtime with that as part of the package, Sports Interactive is going to get charged. Scroll down and see what that means. We can have a little bit of speculation here about what this means for Football Manager as well. So for developers, there are different plans for what you can buy for Unity. So you can get Unity Personal Plus, Unity Pro, and Unity Enterprise. I don't know what Sports Interactive are running on, but they're quite a large company. Also part of Sega. I'd imagine they get some kind of purchasing power there. I'd imagine they're on one of the bigger packages. They have a install base now of 5 million copies this year. No, 6 million. Miles tweeted out the other day 6 million. So they're probably not on Unity Personal, Unity Plus. These are normally small dev teams, single dev teams. I imagine they're on one of the big ones. But what it means is if they're a small dev, $200,000 in revenue and lifetime 2,000 installs. Or if they are on Unity Pro, 1,000 and 1,000 lifetime, they're going to get charged every time the game is installed. So for the small devs, it'll be 20 cents. For the larger devs, it's going to be 15 cents, 12 cents, 7, 6 cents. Convert that to, it's not much difference to pounds. Just drop a couple of pennies off. Of course, when you get to the big numbers, which is probably where Football Manager will get to anyway, it's fairly negligible. 1 cent, 2 cents. So this part of it, if we assume that Football Manager is going to get charged for all those installs, they're going to get charged a lot more for those early installs, of course. And then when they get to 1 million plus, it's going to become pretty cheap for them on each new install. But every time it's installed on a new device, that's going to charge them. So they're adding all these things in. I mean, they're adding extra stuff to Unity, I guess, to try and sweeten it. I don't really see what the additions were necessarily, but there is an FAQ, which has some additional details. So if we look in the FAQ, and they've updated this several times as well. So there's little changes that have happened as a result of the feedback from the other devs. I'm really annoyed at this new thing. Here we go. The runtime fee. What is the runtime fee? Applies per game installs on any platform. Who does it apply to? Applies to all these people who make the games. Games that don't reach the revenue threshold will not be required to pay the fee. I guess that's kind of important. So it only really affects successful games, but I mean, particularly free-to-play games. Now, one of the things they have changed, and I'll see if I can find it here. If every time you install it, it charges, do game installs by the same user across multiple devices count as different installs? Yes, basically. How is an install defined? Installation and initialization of a project on an end user's device. How is Unity collecting? They're using their own proprietary model. Does a reinstall of an app on the same device count towards the runtime fee? That actually says no. I believe that said yes earlier. But there is something somewhere else. If someone upgrades their PC, I can't see that now. See, this is changing all the time. But earlier, someone asked about if someone upgrades their PC, it's not there at all. Will they get charged? So that's something they've already fall back on. If someone upgrades their PC, will they get charged? Does the runtime fee apply to pirated copies of the game? Football Manager is really one of the most pirated copies, one of the most pirated games in the world. We are happy to work with any developers victim piracy and not unfairly hurt by unwanted installs. Doesn't say much, does it? Earlier they said something about some proprietary software, but that doesn't say much at all. They're not counting web and streaming games, so that's actually. And does it apply to charity offers and bundles? It says no. Earlier on, there was also a question about Game Pass, but that has now also disappeared.
Good.
So it doesn't say. Earlier, there's someone asked if it was included Game Pass. They said no. That was in the FAQ, I believe. And now I can't even see that. I mean, they're changing it all the time, and it's chaos. And probably as a result of the feedback, you imagine something that's in Game Pass and people are just downloading it. They're downloading on every device they have. You're going to get charged every time that gets downloaded. So let's have a look and check out some of the responses to this. I'm over 30 seconds into the video, so I can show you this one. This is from Gary Newman. If you don't know Gary Newman, he developed Garry's Mod and Rust, two of the most popular games on Steam. Probably numbers well higher than Football Manager, although total Football Manager is probably similar when you start to imagine each yearly one. But those two games alone, two of the most played games on Steam. Unity can get fucked, is what he said. Unity announced it's going to do it. Maybe start next year. They're going to announce the engine with a tax per install, is what he calls it. The cost isn't the big issue. 10p per sale, not big, but they didn't agree to it. They've spent 10 years making Rust on Unity's engine, and it's going to be retroactively applied to them. And that's not just some Sports Interactive. We come back to Sports Interactive. Sports Interactive have been investing in Unity devs, getting Unity devs in. They've put time and effort. You can imagine FM25 is 3, 4, 5 years through its cycle already of development. It's not going to be, they don't make the game in a year. The game gets made 3 or 4 years. You have to imagine, things are planned at least 3 years in advance. They were, of course, planning this way back pre-COVID or during COVID. You can see in Miles's blog post. So, they've put a lot of time and effort into Unity Engine. And now they see, well, it's a problem. This line right here, look, let's not make the same mistake again. Rust 2 definitely won't be a Unity game. Matt Wood, this guy, he makes a game, Little Kitty game, just a small studio, but he worked on Half-Life, Portal, stuff like that. Yeah, this will absolutely be the last Unity game from me. Culture of the Lamb is a popular game available on Steam. Buy Cult of the Lamb now because we're deleting it on January 1st. They did say they were joking about this, but they did put out a wider message here. For those who don't know, Cult of the Lamb is made in Unity. Unity is introducing a fee. What's the impact on us? Well, we have future projects in the pipeline that are initially planned to be developed in Unity. This change would result in significant delays to our team. We need to acquire an entirely new skill set. Basically, they're going to not develop in Unity now. A massive monster, our mission has been to support and promote new and emerging indie games. The introduction of these fees by Unity could pose significant challenges for aspiring developers, and they got a frog shitting out Unity. Megacrit make popular games Slay the Spire, a little deck building game. I love Slay the Spire, in fact, one of my favorite games. Megacrit team has been hard at work the past 2 years on a new game, but unlike with Slay the Spire, the new engine we've been developing is Unity. A retroactive pricing structure on runtime fees is not only harmful, especially indies, it's also a violation of trust. We believe that Unity is fully aware of this, seeing as they have gone so far as to remove their TOS from GitHub. Despite the immense amount of effort and time our team has already poured into the development of our new title, we will be migrating to a new engine unless the changes are completely reverted and TOS protections are put in place. It's a relatively big studio nowadays. They're ditching it for their new game. And you think, like, what's Sports Interactive going to do? And obviously Sports Interactive is a much bigger company. It might affect them a little bit less. But do they, what do they do about this? Matt Ricks, Unity's new runtime fee is a complete joke. Even for their example calculation shows 2 million revenue having to pay 282k per year or 14% of revenue. And that's on top of the license costs that companies like Sports Interactive are already paying. Oh, I've just noticed this. Hang on, let me just go back and check the... So Matt Ricks has done this other tweet. I was saying that Football Manager will hit that 1 million. No. That's new installs per month. Maybe in the first month they'll hit that. But new installs per month, 1 million? Definitely not. They're probably looking at somewhere between 100,000 and a million a month. So they'll be paying, even if they're on the Unity Pro or Unity Enterprise, they'll still be paying these higher fees. You see, they changed the infographic. This is worse. You know, installs over the install threshold.
Good.
So they changed the graphic.
Good.
Strange. Very strange. So, this is changing all the time. Now, some interesting stuff. This is Unity's share price. Last 5 days, you can see where they announced it. It's fairly clear. It's dropped significantly. I can imagine, unless things change significantly, it's going to drop even further from there. Unity bosses sold stock days before development fees announced.
Good.
Very strange. John Riccitello. And if you don't know John Riccitello, he used to be an executive at the CEO at EA. He wanted to charge for bullets bullet reloads in Battlefield, so you paid $1 every time you wanted to reload your gun in Battlefield. Thankfully, that didn't come into place. You know, this guy was in charge of putting things like Ultimate Team and stuff. He's now in charge of Unity. Sold a load of shares. So they posted sort of an update. We want to acknowledge the confusion and frustration. Who is impacted by this price increase? More than 90% of our customers will not be affected by this change. But you have to imagine that's only people who are selling in really small numbers. You know, people who are not installing in great numbers. Customers will be impacted, generally those who found substantial scale in downloads and revenue. I mean, it's got to be any game developer who actually develops. You know, there's so many hobbyist developers. That's the 90%. Of course, hobbyist developers are not going to get impacted because they don't sell by enough. Be on new installs only. Once you meet the 2 install and revenue thresholds, you only pay runtime fees on new installs after January 1st. It's not perpetual. You only pay once for an install.
Good.
But that doesn't make sense. Like, you're still paying every install.
Good.
Reinstall. We're not going to charge a fee for reinstalls. But it said, okay, earlier on, it seems to have disappeared. But earlier on, it said that if they changed hardware and if you change the pieces in your PC, then it'll treat it as a new PC.
Good.
Fraudulent installs. We're not going to charge a fee for fraudulent installs. Okay. Now, demos was interesting as well. So demos, it said, we're not going to count these towards your install count. Early access games are not considered demos. Now, one of the things it said about demos before was that they could be treated separately. But that still meant that a demo could end up costing you a lot, especially if it's given away for free. We're not going to count web and streaming games towards your install count either. Okay, so the Game Pass information is completely gone. I mean, unless they thought Game Pass was streaming only, but they said Game Pass wouldn't count. And now it's not even mentioned there. And don't forget, so we talk about implications for Football Manager. It's on Game Pass, PC and Xbox. It's going to be on Netflix this year. So you can download it on any of your devices, which the mobile version via the netbox. Of course, this year, 2025, maybe it won't be with Netflix, and maybe it won't be on Game Pass as a result of this. But obviously it's an Apple Arcade right now. We don't know what's happening with Apple Arcade. It's not on any of the announcements. The touch version is looking like it's Switch only, so we'll have to wait and see on that. But Apple Arcade also free the subscription service costs, but you can get Football Manager free through that. So that's 3 areas. If it's ever in PlayStation Plus, if it's ever in a Humble Bundle, FM25, which they've just given away for free in via Amazon Prime, does that count? Are they going to get charged every time for that? I mean, it says charity bundles and initiatives. It doesn't say other initiatives. So that big Amazon Prime drive that they've just done, they're going to get charged for that, right? Here's some other developers. Inner Sloth. We use Unity to make our games. This would not only harm us, but fellow game studios of budgets and sizes. It goes through. We delay content and features our players actually want to port our game elsewhere. But many developers won't have the time to do the same. Aggro Crab, actually you could see it on the reply to the other one. Today Today, Unity, the engine we make our games, announced they'll be taking a fee from developers for every copy of the game installed over a certain threshold, regardless of how that copy was obtained. Guess who has the somewhat highly anticipated game coming to Game Pass in 2024? Football Manager. But yeah, Aggro Crab. This Aggro Crab game is going to be on Game Pass. I might give it a go. But yeah, they're installed for 25 million Game Pass subscribers. I mean, I'm actually surprised that they 25 million Game Pass subscribers. Are they allowed? I don't think anyone's ever said how many Game Pass subscribers there are. And that's before they think about sales on the patterns. Pirated installs of the games, which could end up getting counted, even if Unity says it won't. So, they're not going to use Unity for future titles, and it's going to cause problems for them. Now, Stephen Totio, going to load his up. He got a major update. So Unity regrouped and is now only the initial installation of the game triggers a fee. Demos mostly won't trigger fees. Devs not on the hook for Game Pass. So what that means exactly is interesting. What do they mean by this? So these are the changes. But even if they change things back, it's going to cause some big problems, and we'll come back to why in a minute. Let's see if we can find the thing. So games offered charity, including charities, be free from the free. As for Game Pass other subscription services, Witten said that developers like AgroCrab would not be on the hook as fees are charged to distributors. Right, so there is still a fee, but it goes to Microsoft. But then Microsoft are going to say, well, we're not going to pay you as much for the game. Not on the hook for the fee, but I mean, there is still the fee happening.
Good.
Will not be charged for game demos unless that demo is part of a download that includes the full game. Okay. Good. So it doesn't really help. There is another follow-up tweet. If a player deletes a game and reinstalls it, that's 2 installs, 2 charges. Same if they installed on 2 devices. This is crazy stuff. For Sports Interactive, it'd be interesting for sure to be a fly on the wall in their offices today, but can't imagine this went down well. As it obviously hasn't, the strong language by some of those other developers of other games. So what does this mean for Football Manager? Well, of course, if they're going to get charged to be putting it on their subscription service, it sounds like Microsoft, Apple, Netflix, whoever will have to pay those fees now. But that could impact on the deals that they have with those developers, with the console manufacturers or the subscription service sellers, let's say, because Netflix don't make the console. And so that's one thing you got to bear in mind. The other one is maybe it's a trust, right? They trusted Unity. They had an agreement with Unity over a certain fee. Maybe they were lucky they have some kind of contract where this wouldn't have affected them. But it sounds like from a lot of devs, it was just going to be blanket put in, no choice on the matter, even on old games. And so it would cost them a lot. So, it's a trust element. Even if they go back on it now, that's like an abuse of trust between Unity, who've convinced Sports Interactive to use their engine, and Sports Interactive. And then, potentially, worst case scenario, let's say, Sports Interactive say, we're not using Unity anymore, we're going to Unreal Engine. And it delays everything. We don't see FM25 on the new engine, or we don't see it's delayed, or all the features are cut, or anything like that. All of this could potentially happen because, they got to get new devs in. They got to get people who understand the new engine. There's going to be, teething issues switching between engines, all the tools that they're using. So that would be a nightmare scenario, let's say. But even if Sports Interactive are barely affected by the financial side of it, and they're happy to keep going in Unity, the backlash from this, from other developers, is going to cause some serious problems at Unity, financially for Unity. People are going to stop using Unity. All these devs are saying they're not going to use Unity, regardless of if Unity draws back what they've already said. A lot of these devs have said, we're not going to use Unity. We're not going to go with Unity anymore. Next game, Unreal Engine. Next game, Godot. Next game, proprietary engine, whatever engine they want. They're not going to go with Unity. And what happens then? Unity laid off a lot of staff last year. Unity maybe has to make more layoffs. They don't make as much money. Down the pan, Unity ceases to exist, potentially even. I mean, I don't know if we're talking extreme examples here or not. There's a long way to go. A lot could change between today and tomorrow. But I mean, for sure, they've burned a lot of developers, and it is going to have a knock-on effect with games like Football Manager that are starting to develop in Unity. So keep an eye out for the news on this. Let me know your thoughts below. You know, we've got Football Manager around the corner, 24 around the corner. I'm excited for that. You know, I did a reaction video for the trailer the other day. Looks pretty good, the trailer. The stuff they got coming. We're going to have a look as the new features as they come in those new videos. So keep an eye on the channel for that. But for FM25, like, I was planning on making a different video on Unity and all the stuff Unity can bring to the game. Who knows what's going to happen now? So I might put a pin in that video for a little while. I'm probably going to put a pin in it until post 24 anyway. And we'll see what happens. If you enjoyed this, I mean, and you want to look up blunders and retractments, I've got a video here on where someone had to retract a Football Manager review from a major gaming website. So go check that out. They made a blunder there.
Good.
We don't want blunders. Only in Football Manager. See ya.